Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of The Late Show with Sam. I'm your host for today, and in today's episode, we will discover and talk about solar energy and the promising possibility of solar transportation. We will now transition to Mia, who will talk about background knowledge about solar transportation and how it works. Sit back, relax, and we hope you enjoy.
So, how can energy from the sun really be used to power our vehicles? It's actually quite simple. A solar vehicle is a type of electric vehicle which uses photovoltaic cells to convert sunlight into electrical energy. The photovoltaic cells, which absorb the photons emitted from the sun and transfer them into negatively charged particles called electrons. The energy from the sun allows the electrons to flow through the cell, generating an electric current which can be used to power electric motors in vehicles. Some of you may be thinking, well, how do solar vehicles work at night or when there is no sun? This is where the idea of batteries come into play. During the day, the excess energy that is created from the photovoltaic cells is stored in batteries, integrated into the design of the vehicle. Then, in the absence of sunlight or in low sunlight conditions, the vehicle can use the energy stored in the batteries to run smoothly. However, there are currently some limitations to this technology that make solar vehicles impractical in areas with low sunlight or poor weather conditions. Ultimately, in their current state, photovoltaic cells cannot generate the amount of energy needed to fully power electric vehicles like cars and buses. However, they can supplement power needs, making batteries last longer and generating power for features such as air conditioning and stereos. Already, companies such as Toyota are beginning to use solar energy in transportation to aid electric vehicles. Increasingly, more and more breakthroughs are being made in the field of solar transportation, and the technology is improving, making the future of solar transportation look very bright.
The future is now. To some, solar transportation sounds like a myth, a lie to the ears. What if I told you in 2020, just under 2 years ago, Hyundai released an innovative car that carries around solar panels on its roof in order to save tremendously on hideous gas prices. It is estimated that 60% of the car's battery can be recharged through the use of solar alone. Another exciting breakthrough would be Elon Musk's Cybertrucks, to soon be released and shipped in 2023, which will have an add-on option of solar panels that allow the truck to be charged from the sun while driving or parked. Despite their very futuristic looks, these Cybertrucks showcase how solar transportation is becoming increasingly integrated into our lives. These trucks are pure innovation in the field of solar transportation and are a gateway to what the future now has to offer. Furthermore, solar transportation is not limited to cars. In fact, just recently, a boat named Planet Solar, the world's largest purely solar-powered boat to date, was able to circumnavigate the globe using solar alone. The boat uses absolutely 0 liters of gasoline and produces 0 carbon dioxide emissions. It solely relies on the 29,124 photovoltaic cells. All the energy captured from those cells allows the boat to keep floating at full speed, even in complete darkness, for up to 72 hours. Right here in Melbourne, the government's solar trams innovation uses solar power to offset 200,000 tonnes of carbon emissions from the tram network each year. Solar transportation innovatives are infiltrating every aspect of transportation, from solar buses, trains, trams, to solar boats and planes. It is clear that solar transportation is the way of the future.
Now, the future of using solar power for transportation is looking up, but it isn't without its drawbacks too. There are many positives to using solar energy to power transportation, such as no more gas emissions. Solar-powered vehicles have electric motors which convert solar energy into electrical energy. This means they can operate without emitting any gases into the atmosphere. Very different to the current commonly used petrol cars fueled by fossil fuels that release about 4.6 metric tons of CO2 per year per car. Also, solar car vehicles are powered by the source of all forms of energy, the sun. With the developments on solar panels in the past few years, efficient solar panels can produce and store more energy for vehicles. However, the initial costs of solar energy products are deemed to be too expensive. It's expected that the average initial cost of a solar car to be $238,000, whereas the average petrol fuel car in Australia costs about $40,000. But according to the Australian Automobile Associations, in March 2019, Transport Affordability Index shows that the average Australian spends at least $3,500 on fuel per year. That's not even including the repairs that it may have to go through. Hence, the total cost of petrol cars' lifespan may well add up to be more than solar cars' lifespan of use. Though there are some negatives to the usage of solar cars, there are plenty of benefits that make it better than cars powered by other fuels. Over the years, manufacturers will definitely address these issues, making it more optimal for everyone.
As we conclude this week's episode, it is important that we address one last question. Is solar transportation a viable and sustainable option for the future? Through the episode, we explored the ins and outs of solar transportation, and it is clear that it is a greener and cleaner alternative to transportation powered by fossil fuels. Solar transportation can help us drastically reduce the amount of greenhouse gas emissions that come for the transportation industry and help us combat global warming, which is something the world must embrace to stop the devastating effects of climate change. However, our technology is limited and solar power cannot fully support the energy required for transportation. It is relatively expensive. Initial costs also limit the scope of where solar transportation can be implemented. Despite this, however, there is no doubt that the many advancements being in this emerging field, that solar transportation will play a role in modernising the industry to meet the needs of our society and fulfil our responsibility to protect the environment.